Two Queers in a Truck. And I'm Billy James Gunn, and my sidekick, Christian Cano, partner with Gunn, is coming up next.
Hey everyone, I'm Jim's sidekick. Welcome to Two Queers in a Truck. Hi y'all.
See you soon. Good morning, everybody. It's Two Queers in a Truck time, and it is January 28th, the last Wednesday of the month. Unfortunately, we won't have a bonus Wednesday in this month, so we won't have 5 Wednesdays. So we'll be able to say my famous saying.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Of course, February never has one because it only has 28 days. But anyway, except in leap years. But anyway, we're going to jump right into it. And we kind of touched on this theme a little bit last show or last week. If you haven't watched last week's show, go ahead and jump out of this episode and go listen to last week's show and then listen to this one. And not that you have to, but it may not hurt. It may give you some context on what I'm about to say. America has an identity crisis. And what I mean by that is that we paint ourselves as the superheroes in all of our movies. We always want to be considered the good guys. But in reality, for the most part, we're the shitbags of the world, especially in the last 50 or 60 years. What we did in Vietnam, what we did in the 9/11 wars, so on and so forth, what we're currently doing right now. We definitely aren't the good guy. And the United States government, under the big bag of farts, definitely is not a good look at all. Like shooting civilians in the street, et cetera, et cetera. Very fascist, very secret police, very SS type tactics. Comply or die America is what we live in. But back in 2015, John Cena, a wrestler turned actor, did a PSA video, and he said, "What does typical American look like?" And it was very interesting because he was talking about diversity and inclusion and what does an American look like, and also would invoke a movie quote. It's from The Dictator, a Sacha Baron Cohen movie. He did Borat and Bruno, and he did this movie called The Dictator. Admiral General Aladdin, and he was the dictator of a fictional country called Wadia. And him and his kind of Secretary of State, played by Ben Kingsley, that played Gundy, were walking up some stairs with this new bodyguard, played by John C. Reilly, that was in Step Brothers and Talladega Nights and all this. And he's going to be this head of security for him. And he says, in full disclosure, I don't like Arabs. And they say back, well, we're not Arab. And he goes, no, y'all are all Arabs to me. And then he goes on to say, I consider the blacks, the Jews, the blue skin, tree hugging queers from Avatar, anything that's not American, essentially non-white, as Arabs, a general term. And I'll see a lot of people when they refer to Latin X or Hispanic people as all Mexicans.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Which is like, there's Puerto Ricans, there's El Salvadorians, there's Cubanos, there's a whole rainbow of people. Mm-hmm. Not even every Hispanic person even speaks Spanish. Like there's Portuguese. There's a myriad of languages spoken by Latinx and Hispanic people, and myriad of languages spoken throughout South America and North America amongst the Latin people. And there's a diversity of races too. There's people of Asian descent that are very much Peruvian. There's Italian people that live in Mexico that are very much Italian, but they are Mexican residents. There's blue-eyed, white-skinned, blonde-haired Mexican nationals that live just over the border between on the other side of the Texas-Mexican border. But John Cena's thing, spoke to what was said in the movie The Dictator is, what does an American look like? And if you base it on statistics and majority minorities, more Americans are women than men. That was at 51, 52% of our entire population is women. So if we're going to speak to what an typical American looks like, and we're going to use majority terms, wouldn't it be true that person would be a woman? It could also be said that it wouldn't necessarily be a completely white woman. That should have tones of different ethnicities in it. If we're going to use a composite sketch of what a across the board rainbow version of what a true American would look like, between Native Americans, people of African descent, people of different Latin heritages, so on Asian descent, whether they're Indian or East Asian, like a Thai or a Chinese person, have got different tones, different amounts of melanin in their skin. So that composite of that person may be a ethnically vague, darker than white, not completely black woman would be what a real American would look like if you used a composite sketch of the majority of people. But if you went according to pop culture, and especially movies, every president pretty much in every action movie is always a white man, usually. Typically, even comedies, even TV shows, it's usually a white man, sometimes a black man, but it's rarely anything other than a white man. Most of the heroes in action movies usually is a white man, the majority of the time. Whether it's James Bond or the Mission Impossible characters or whomever. The Avengers, in the Marvel movies, most of the superheroes are white men. Every Superman's been a white man, because Kryptonians can't be black, according to the movies. Same with Spider-Man, except for that one animated one. It was the main character was actually black. But we look at our culture and we look at our pop culture, it's a reflection of how we think. Our art imitates life, and life imitates art many times. But our country is very sexist and very racist. Case in point, the last three candidates we've run against Republicans, especially Trump, have been two women, one man. Our last four nominees total was one black man, one black Asian woman, one white woman, and one white man. Technically, minority or affected classes. Three of our last four presidential nominees since 2008. The last time we ran back-to-back white men was 2000 and 2004. In this century, and I'm just going to stick to this century. I'm not going to go throughout the history. This was all white men up until then. There were nominees for both parties. Because that's what we believe looks like the main character or the hero in America, and it's far from it. White men are not the majority, and white Christian straight men are definitely not the minority. They're actually a small part of our population. Very, very small. Surprisingly, statistically small.
So why do you think they get so much attention?
Because they got all the power and all the money. How many white, straightish men are billionaires?
Yeah.
But we are up against our first break, and we'll be right back with some more Two Queers in a Truck right after this. Hey y'all, thanks for listening to Two Queers in a Truck. And we do broadcast on YouTube and Facebook in a video version. And we're also on all the audio platforms out there. So your favorite way to listen to your podcast. We've been doing this for a couple years, and we appreciate y'all listening. We know you have a ton of choices, even though we may be the best choice. We always appreciate our listeners, and we'll try to bring you quality in the future. Thanks for listening. As always, Christian and Jenny, we're out. Thank y'all. Hey, everybody. You can catch us on your favorite audio podcast platform, Spotify, and all Apple Store, the Google machine, and whoever else does podcasts. We're on there. We broke in, and we're staying. So enjoy the Two Queers in the Truck on your favorite audio podcast platform. Thanks for listening or watching. Bye, boo. Happy time. And we are back. And that's a great question. And the obvious answer is they have all the power and all the money. I mean, that goes back to George Washington until now. Is that every president we've had through number 47 that we have right now have been white men, except for one. But let's look at Obama. Let's peel that back further. Obama was a very eloquent speaker, used really big, expensive words most of the time. Harvard educated, top of his class, the president of his class as well. The epitome of the American dream. But for some people, it was a nightmare because he was a very highly educated black man. And they went at the fact that his name was decidedly not necessarily got an ethnic roots in American culture. I mean, Barack Hussein Obama isn't necessarily the most Anglophile or typical American name, but his presentation, the way he carried himself, fit in with enough white narrative to be electable, even in a very racist, sexist country. Now, obviously, the sexism in this country, which I think overrules the racism, is why, Hillary lost. And in 2024, I think there was a myriad of reasons we lost, but I think racism and sexism definitely played a part at the end. Plus the fake assassination attempt of Trump, plus the changing of the horses when the race was almost run to switch from Biden to Harris a few months before the general election. When Biden was old in 2023, he was only a year older in 2024. And why we forced him down in 2024 to step off the ticket, I don't know. But to answer your question, why do white men have so much power? And why are white men seen as the hero is because we got the checkbooks. when the movie studios comes calling, they want primarily white men as much in the lead as humanly possible, with some nod to add some tokenism in that. Even though white straight males are such a small part of our country, even the hockey movie that I referenced, in last week's show, all of the gay characters in that predominantly were white. There was one side character that was with another side character that happened to be black and gay, but he was just in it just for a fraction. But he was not a main character, and he wasn't a hockey player either. But the main three characters that were all struggling to come out were all white gay men. We as a country view people as presidentials when they're men and predominantly white. If you look at 2020 with the Democrat Party, for example, how many of the top 10 to top 15 were men? And then on top of that, how many of those candidates, man or woman, were white? So, you know, and then the people that got the most traction, especially the top five vote getters in the primaries, I think were all white, and only one of them was a woman. And Harris had already dropped out by then. But when we think about it, we run under a narrative of very much. We live in a country where being a white man, it's structured by white men, rich and powerful white men throughout our history, to keep them in power. And if you look at our system, it's a feeder system. And it's designed that way on purpose. It's not an accident. Just like racism in this country is very institutionalized. In some ways, I wish, especially on government forms and anything pretty much, I wish it didn't ask what race you are, ethnicity, or sexuality. Because when you're in the other category, which is the majority of Americans, like probably 90, 95% of us, that are in other categories, you're in trouble in this country.
Gersemi, it does add credence, I hope that's the right word to use, to when people say, especially like African-American Black women, I really admire the fact that they always stress how representation matters, because you and I growing up in Texas, there's a certain, as you see, the people in power at the time looked a certain way. And when you're young and when you're young in your formative years and your brain is being wired and so forth, and you look at, this is what power looks like. So this is what I must have to either look like, or this is what I have to marry, or whatever the case may be. And the fact that now that we are pushing for representing, all types of people, it does make a difference to someone young, because when they see, for example, when they see this show and they see you and they see diversity and they see all kinds of stuff, they say, hey, listen, someone looks like me, or someone is like me, and I can be like that. It seems attainable.
I've had, because you and I both have done a ton of public experiences, appearances where we've done public speaking. I mean, outside of this show, you ran for office. I've done a lot of political speeches. I've done a lot of panels and I've done media interviews, print, radio, and TV, and so have you. and we both have been interviewed by the press many, many times. And I've had a lot of randoms come up to me, which is kind of scary. Because you never know when you hear your name yelled across the parking lot, and
You're like, oh shoot.
oh shit, this, looking for the gun, looking for the
Exactly.
or about to
Where's the mace?
do the Matrix move where I got to dodge bullets and duck and cover. But I've had so many people, no matter who they were, they'll usually tell me that I'm very brave for being out the way I am, and that also what I say matters to them. And I'm like, it's especially shocking when I have white men say that to me. And I've had that a lot, which, is a whole different, got a whole lot of questions when a white straight male says that. But I also appreciate it too. And I know that the message is being heard. I got a lot of positive feedback, both when I did that kind of stuff in Texas and especially in North Carolina, where I did so much more of it than I did in Texas. And I heard a consistent theme of people when they went out of their way to say stuff to me about that. And in person, people are a lot different to me than, on the social media. People are nasty on the social media a lot of times, but, they got their keyboard warriors. They're brave when they're sitting on the other side of a screen. And I can't put them in a chokehold, but we are up against our second break. And I do want to take the quick break, and then I want to come back to this topic because it kind of has something to do with the last topics. We'll be right back with some important messages here in a few seconds. Hey, y'all, this is Jetty with Two Queers in a Truck, and Christian's along with me. And we're just having fun, and we're looking forward to the 2025 season and super excited. We have some neat things going on in our whole family of shows, including Coffee and Pan Dulce, and many new shows that are brewing. Get it. And we are excited for 2025 and all the chicanery and other things that comes with it. So happy New Year, and we'll see you on the flip side. Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all. Bye, boo.
Bye, boo.
Hi, everybody. This is Yorense from the Americo show over here. All I'm here is doing a little quick PSA. Use this summer to do volunteer work. Go to your nearest YMCA. Go to your nearest homeless shelter. Go to whatever community services or programs that you can help out and volunteer. Because right now, we have a bunch of fascist pieces of shit trying to rip apart our country and rip apart the people, our communities, by spreading hate and bigotry. The best way to combat it is, one, working in your community and standing strong to show that you are strong and you're here to help out others. Two, combat misinformation. If you hear bullshit, first research and make sure if it's true or not. If it is not true, call it out. If it is true, get the facts. Be knowledgeable of it because it might come out later. So always stand against that. And three, fuck fascists. Stand against them. Make them feel uncomfortable. There is too many people out there feeling like they can say the hard R or say slurs or be violent. Make them understand that a lot of people die to make sure this hatred and bigotry does not exist. All our civil rights workers, all the people who stormed Normandy, everybody who fought against intolerance and hatred, they died and worked their asses off to stop this. So follow in their footsteps and stop this madness. This is Yorense again from the Americo, and all I can say is be there for your community and stand up for what's right. Fuck fascism and have a wonderful day.
And we are back. But yeah, representation does matter. It was important for Obama, Harris, and Hillary to run. Now, on 2 out of the 4 elections, we won. But it was still important for them to run. How we handled Harris and Hillary, the Democrat Party, and the candidates themselves did a really shitty job of marketing our candidates in those cases. Obama and Biden got, or at least Biden in 2020 and Obama for sure in 2008 and 2012, got a lot better effort from progressives and the political party itself, which worries me a little. And again, it goes back to the overarching theme that we had in last week's show, which was, are we afraid to be liberal? Are we afraid to be seen as progressive? Are we going to be seen as weak because we support female candidates or diverse candidates? If they're not a white male or a male, are we seen as less than? What if Michelle Obama ran for president? Would she get the same support that Barack got? Because there's always been rumors that Michelle was going to run. It's been a persistent thing ever since she left the White House. That she would do what Hillary did and eventually run for president. And she's repeatedly said, I don't want to run. Mainly because she probably saw what Barack went through for two different political races. And, I kind of enjoy my own thing and my freedom, and being president is not very fun. There's probably some wisdom in that. Even more so since Harris got defeated last year, both in the popular vote and the electoral college. Kind of like when, if you were a law enforcement officer or anybody, and the person ahead of you goes around that corner to breach that hostage situation, and you get shot, they get shot, you're the next one in line, chances are you're not going around that corner. I don't think Michelle Obama wants to set herself up as a failed political candidate. I think she likes an image of being a former first lady, community advocate, voting rights advocate, organizer. I think she likes that role a lot better than going through the stresses, because I think we're still at a point, and I'm still going to say this, I think we're going to elect a gay man before we'll elect a woman. I think a woman may become president because they get rolled up because something happens to the president. Mm-hmm. Which is why I always said I thought Biden should have retired in 2023 and rolled up Harris and let her run as an incumbent. Plus, she'd had the year under her belt.
Yeah.
And she could have ran as the president.
Yeah.
Not the vice president. I think it would have made a difference. It would have given her a whole year to campaign. It would have given Biden a dignified way out, because in essence, he lost that election too. And I think it would have been a more poetic ending. I think I'd rather seen him stay the course and ran in 2024, win or lose.
Yeah.
And then he could have stepped down in 2025 when he got his cancer diagnosis.
Mm-hmm.
And that would have been the perfect story. But even then, Harris has almost 4 years to be president.
Yeah.
And then if she wanted to run in 2028, she could, but she'd be running as a president with 3.5 years under her belt or so. And it would have given them both more dignity than the way they went out. But, Trump had an election to win. The conservative bloggers convinced Democrats to change horses. And the Democrats are stupid because we're afraid to be seen progressive. We're afraid to be seen liberal. We're afraid to be seen, quote unquote, weak or emotional. We're afraid to be seen as feminine. And all of this, most of sexism originates from two places. That a lot of people hate women, men and women. Most sexism and misogyny comes from disliking women. Mm-hmm. Considering the Republican Party is full of very problematic, in the closet gay men, and bisexual men, they naturally hate women. because they're angry because they can't come out.
Yeah.
They've chosen a political party that they can't be themselves. So instead of taking accountability for the fuckery they caused, they're going to make it visible for everybody, but especially women, and try to paint them as weak when they're the weak ones because they're the ones afraid to come out. And it's a general theme, and we even heard that with Harris and Hillary, was they're too emotional to be president. They're too this. She laughs too loud. Her emails, whatever the excuse was, they had so many excuses why. But what it really was is they were women. They got attacked on being a woman. Harris got attacked because she'd never had kids. She'd only raised Doug's stepkids.
And what's crazy is Trump never bore kids himself.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, his hips are too narrow. He didn't have breathing hips. We did have a tiny enough of a dick to get Satan pregnant on South Park. So,
but wouldn't that have been a great line for her to say when she was people were saying that? If a reporter had asked her for her to say, well, I guess President Trump and I, or former President Trump and I, are very similar. He's actually never, actually had
he's
kids
never birthed
himself.
children.
He's never birthed children either.
But we ran scared.
Yeah.
We ran scared. She probably would have said that when she was running as vice president in 2020 in the debates with what's his face.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of down low gay men, but in 2024 she muted her voice.
Yeah.
She very much was less snarky.
Mm-hmm.
They tempered who she was down a lot.
Mm-hmm.
She traditionally always supported the LGBT community. She didn't support us at all.
They Jeff Jacksoned her.
They Jeff Jacksoned her. They whitewashed her. They did. They wanted to make her very, very white.
Yeah.
Very, very Anglofied. Very, very tempered. Very moderate. Very. Just want to talk about her law enforcement, background. They very much Jeff Jackson. There's nothing wrong with Jeff, but they very much whitewashed her, just through and through, bleached the hell out of her, took away her fire, and we saw them do that with Hillary a little bit too. And at a certain extent, Obama a little bit. They focused on his education and stuff like that. They didn't, he used code words like, audacity, hope, things like that. But really backed away from the blackness. Yeah. Or his heritage or anything. We did not see any of that as a strength. But with our female candidates, and not just for president in general, I've noticed that we're very afraid of the womanhood part being promoted at all. And I think that speaks to how America actually sees themselves and who we really are. And like I said at the top of the show, I think we have an identity crisis. And I think we need to own some of our bullshit and square it away and admit it. And then let's go to work on it. Because sexism is what gets trans women attacked and killed in this country. And is what gets cis women in the same boat. Sexism affects us all. You notice they don't go after trans men. Even though when they ban trans girls from playing in girls' sports, that means they also force trans men hopped up on testosterone to play those same sports. Nobody thinks about that consequence, and there's more trans men playing sports than there are trans women. So they actually create more of a problem than they solve, i.e. taxes. The trans male that had to wrestle girl wrestlers in Texas won back-to-back state championships. And it's because he's hopped up on testosterone, but it was legal because it's for his medical transition. So yeah, he whooped those cis girls. He fucking went in there, back to back. It wasn't even close. He barely had to try to win. Won back-to-back champions because they wouldn't let him wrestle in the boys division, even though he petitioned and the UIL denied him the access to wrestle in the boys. And the funny thing about wrestling is that it's gone by weight class, so he would have been wrestling the same weight kids.
Yeah.
Whether he won a championship, we don't know. But because of whatever is assigned at birth is what you're stuck with 15, 16, 17 years later, according to the state. A person assigned as female at birth can't wrestle with boys. So sexism backfire in that case, and will backfire again. But that's all we have for this week. We did run over a little bit. I apologize for that. And we will dance on out, and we'll see you in February. Bye, y'all. Bye-boo.
Bye-boo. Had to put my glasses on.
Hey, y'all. Thanks for watching Two Quarters in the Truck. And we're at the end of January. And so we've got exciting news. We got some new shows that we are recording actually really today.
Yeah.
And we'll be out pretty soon. You'll start seeing some promotional materials. Or probably already have seen some. So I hope y'all participate because they will be pay for play. But we got some exciting new formats coming out and a whole bunch of promotional things that are going to be that have already come out or will be coming out. And so look on our social medias, look on our Facebook and Instagram pages and you will see a whole bunch of stuff about it. Super excited. Look forward to that. And as always, we both appreciate y'all's participation in our little show here. Bye, y'all.
Bye, y'all. Bye, boo.